Good afternoon. I want to begin by just heartfelt prayers for Terry Hutchins and his family, and just continue to pray for him and his situation. So just heavy hearts for all that he's going through now, and awesome person. So, just want to also talk about today, which is why we're here, to talk about this class and the young men that chose to sign with us today, which is a really exciting class for me as you continue to build what you're doing as a coach, and you begin to really, have multiple years to be here, and you invest in these guys and you get to know them, because these recruiting relationships last and take a long time to build and develop, and some of these are going into year two, to be able to get a young man to make this decision and to decide what's best for him and his family, which is what it comes down to in the end. And so, a lot of strong ties and a lot of hard work that goes into a day like today. And with having the two signing periods, you still have more guys to fill. We have 20 spots filled today, and counting Jack Tuttle, who is not in the class and doesn't count in the class, but in terms of today's, how they go by and judge that. But obviously he's still a part of our team now, and will be a part of the 25 that we bring in. So we have 5 more spots available after today. So just really encouraged by the number of in-state young men that chose to be with us for the top 6 in Indiana, which is something that ever since I've been here has been a priority, is to recruit the state of Indiana very, very hard and do a great job of building relationships, and just really excited about the young men that chose to be here, from our state. And then also we have 6 guys that are 4 stars or higher in their rankings. I know we don't get too bent out of shape about those rankings, the number of stars that guys have, but it is how they evaluate them and how they categorize them and judge them. And there's no question that many of those guys in those higher areas do turn out to be really good players. And so, a guy like Sean Ratcher that sometimes gets, some rankings, he's a long snapper, right? But the guys that actually judge his skill set rank him as a 5-star. And so my philosophy in signing long snapper would be the fact that we just graduated, Dan Gottsel, who's going to be playing in the Senior Bowl, and he's one of the best long snappers in America, and I don't like rolling the dice with those kind of positions. You go out there and you get the best, and we did a national search for the best, and Sean fit the profile, and he's a Midwest guy out of Ohio, and so we decided to dive into him and go ahead but in my mind, like I said, the guys that evaluate them, Cole's kicking, he's a 5-star guy. So, but regardless, he's an excellent skill set for what we're looking for. Cam Williams, Bo Robbins, Jack Tuttle, Tywone Mullen, and Samson James, all guys that are regarded as such, and all fine young men that we really spend a lot of time investing in and getting to know, and they chose to come here and be with us. So, pretty balanced class. A lot of different states represented, a lot of different positions represented, both sides of the football. A few guys listed as athletes, and guys we don't know yet what side of the ball they might play on, or what position they may play. But I kind of use Stevie Sky as our test case for that, and to explain our thought process. And we took him last year as a potential running back or linebacker, and we all know what he did at running back. And so several guys in this class that kind of fall in that category. And so Deshaun Brown's one of those guys, and David Ellis is another one of those guys. Probably both going to end up on offense, I would assume. But very versatile players that play multiple positions, both sides of the football, special teams, get the ball in their hands, make plays. Even up front, a guy like Antoine Whitner is a guy that we signed really as a big athlete. He can play both sides of the football. He can play inside. He can play outside. Big 6'5" guy that's 300-plus pounds, but lean and very, athletic for his size. And you just can't get enough of those kind of guys, So that's kind of how I view some of those positions, and just really want to make sure we do a great job of, identifying those kind of athletes that fit that profile and allow us to be very, very successful, running the football on offense, creating explosive plays on offense, running to the football on defense, creating takeaways on defense, and in the special teams game of being really, really at a high level at our specialists, which is, to me, as I've said all along, if you want to have great special teams, you have to have high-quality specialists. So that's what we've addressed with this class. So very, very deep class. Like I said, we got 20 at this point. We'll add some more in the future. And you guys can continue to ask questions here, I know, as you will. Before I get to the questions, we do have several guys that will be mid-year and that means they'll be joining with us here in January. Matthew Bedford, big offensive tackle, big get for us out of Memphis, Tennessee. Juan Harris will be returning to our program, and Samson James, Michael Kadick out of Pennsylvania, and Larry Tracy here out of Indianapolis, Decatur Central High School, will be a mid-year enrollee, and then Jack Tuttle is also going to be mid-year. So that's 6 total guys that will be joining us here in January, be a part of our team right away, which is really, really a big deal because they'll be with our strength staff, which I feel is the best in America. And those guys under Dave Ballew's leadership will do a great job of really preparing their bodies and their minds for a Big Ten season here in a few months. So that's the class that we have today. Really, really excited about the young men that have chosen us. And now the real work has begun because once you come here, you have to start from the beginning and prove that you have the skill set and the mental and physical toughness to be a Big Ten football player. So, questions?
How quickly did the Jack Tuttle thing transpire? I mean, and how much did his family history play a part in everything?
Yeah, I think that it was one of those that would be one of the situations where we had not had a year-long, recruiting process with him. I would say that immediately, though, the fact that he was born here in Indiana, the fact that his father played here at Indiana, the fact that his mother went to Indiana State, they have family in Indiana, was a big draw for them, and then also for us. I always try and find if a guy's from that far away, what would cause him to want to be here, and I think that was, I think part of the equation for sure. I think another big part of it was once he got here and got around our guys, I think he just really felt fairly comfortable here, and just this was kind of the environment he was looking for, in terms of the culture we have here, the way we treat our players, and the way that they, as parents, knew their son was going to be received here, and to be able to have him come. So, yeah, that was probably one that wasn't as long-term of a recruiting process, but really excited about him and the skill that he brings, and a chance to come here and really give us depth in a room that needs it bad.
Just as a follow-up on that, I understand there's an appeal pending for immediate eligibility. As much as you can comment on that, what do you think the timetable of that will be in terms of when you will learn whether or not he will be eligible for next fall?
Yeah, that is accurate. Their appeal will be made, and that process can vary in length. Basically, you just go through it, and you assume that you're going to get it, and then you just deal with it when you get the result. I'm assuming you'll know probably around the spring ball range, I would think, based on previous history. Sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's faster, but we will not know that right away. I know that for sure, but that is a process that will be moving forward, and we'll begin immediately as soon as it gets here.
I guess mentioning the in-state connection, and in particular Indianapolis, just how pleased are you to be able to pick up a number of guys, and I know rankings probably aren't everything, but that do land at or near the top of kind of those state rankings lists?
Well, you said it. It's in-state guys that are really good football players. And Indiana's not a massive state numbers-wise. There's a lot of other states that have more schools, more athletes than we do. So you got to make sure that that you can really target those key guys that you believe are Big Ten football players and guys that can help you win football games in the Big Ten and go after them. And to be able to get a big chunk of those guys in the top 10 in our state is a big for me. And guys at schools that from the Indianapolis area as well as north that play good football and had guys that we felt like were worthy of being here. And so I just think you can't put – can't say enough great things about that. That's important to me. It always has been, always will be. And, still want to continue to work hard to get more guys from in-state, and so make sure that we're getting the guys that, fit our profile and guys that we can help us, achieve our goals, and they can come here and achieve their goals. So big deal for me, yes.
Can you maybe just explain Juan Harris and obviously leaving, coming back? He's obviously committed several different times. Can you just explain why bring a kid back that's already left once and committed several different times?
Yeah, for me, we went through a long process in regards to evaluating his situation and looked at things as they happened when he was here and know his history and just know his upbringing and the things that he's been through. And so to be able to, you know, it was really a collective group effort for me to go through and talk to a lot of folks and spend time with them and have him come. We brought him on an official visit so he could spend time with individuals here. And sometimes, you know, when you have a chance to go to the environment that he went to when he left here is, you know, it was a wake-up call, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, and to realize what you have. And then when you choose to, you know, go somewhere else and you don't have those things anymore, and you realize, you know, how blessed you really were and how the opportunities you had. And so I think it's called growing up, you know. And so, but at the same time, you know, he's got to, you know, be able to, as we've given him a second chance here, you know, and he and I have spent a lot of time together talking about that, and we're going to do everything we can to be able to give him the resources to be successful. And I feel like that he has a skill set, has some things that can help this program, and I believe that you know, we have some things that we can do here to help him. You know, so it's kind of a dual benefit, and to me, it's about you know, really challenging young men to grow and to develop and become who I believe they were created to be. And so that's on him to come back here and prove that I was right to give him a second chance.
Coach, in the last class, you really emphasized speed. Was there a certain attribute that you were targeting for this class, or was it more based on need? Just what was kind of the approach there?
Yeah, you know, speed's the mainstay. You know, we got to have that as a priority. You know, I love the running back room, you know, that we're creating here in the last few years, and the guys that were already here, and think that that's always going to be a priority for us is speed in the back end, you know, being able to, you know, get some secondary guys. Now, you do notice that we signed a lot of DBs last year. Therefore, numerically, we weren't going to be able to sign as many this year. You know, we'd like to, you know, potentially sign one more, you know, in the next cycle here before February. But really emphasize defensive line, you know, because of graduation, and still need to address some of those needs. It's all we lost 4 inside guys, you know, and a guy on the outside, you know, and so really huge priority was there. And offensive line, you know, we got a couple that are really excited about, Michael Kadick and Matthew Bedford, that signed with us today. That really they're both mid-year guys, which is huge to get them in our weight room, you know, in January. And so need to get a couple more, you know, and then signed a guy that could go either side, you know, and Antoine, you know, Whitfield. To me, it's just it's absolutely imperative that we get big guys, you know, and we lost some, and we got to replace those. And so, you know, that's why this is a pretty balanced group. You know, we got a couple backers in here, and that I really, really like, and you know, Curvins, and a guy out of, you know, he's actually out of Canada, you know, but he played high school football in Clearwater, Florida, and you know, and then you know, Cam Williams, a guy that you know, Indiana guy from Andrean High School. And so length and speed, both those guys, 6'3", you know, one's a little bigger than the other one, but they both can run, you know. And Co, you know, I don't even begin to attempt to pronounce his last name. Good luck on that one there. So you guys get to have some fun with that. I just call him Co. You know, that's safe. But Co is a guy that's actually from American Samoan, and he's from Australia, but he goes to school in Clearwater, Florida. You know, so we kind of covered again. We brought his dad in on the official visit. He flew all the way from Australia to come. Awesome family, and just love that kid. You know, he's big, 320 pounds, and you know, he's strong, and just a great young man. You're going to enjoy getting to know. We got a lot of high quality guys in this class that you know, really good people that we enjoyed recruiting, enjoyed being around. And so you're trying to get big guys on offense and speed on defense, and big guys in the core on defense, and some length at receiver and some speed at receiver. And so address the running back room, the quarterback room. So it's a little bit of everything in this class, which is what you got to do. And I thought last year's class was same way, had a little bit of everything, kind of addressed a lot of areas that we have the need for sure, but then you also make sure you're always constantly building the roster, step by step, day by day, year by year.
Coach, you kind of touched on this answering Stu's question, but with the 5 spots left, you want to take a defensive back and some more guys in the trenches. Is there anything else you're focusing on for February?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, and I don't, you know, sometimes you don't want to pigeonhole yourself, because trust me, this thing changes sometimes by the day, you know. But when you just look at your numbers and what we set out to sign, you know, you try to get you know, a couple more offensive linemen, and like to get another defensive lineman, and like to be able to get a receiver, and like to be able to get a DB, you know. So if I had to just say right now, that's the goal. You know, those are the spots that we still feel like, and those can be, trust me, it can evolve different ways, but you know, you got 5. That's the guaranteed thing that we do have. and we have to work within that structure. And so we'll work really, really hard between now and February 6th to be able to come up with the best 5 guys we can that meet those needs. And also sometimes you just say, hey, take best available. You know, sometimes that's what's a variable that comes into play. And so sometimes you can't take a certain position because you just, man, we just can't pass this guy up, even though you might be, you know, not an area that I might even just said right now, you know. So, but at the same time, you know, I do know that it will be no more than 5.
You've now stacked 2 classes on top of each other that, by this program's standards, are better than what I used to. How soon can you expect, you know, these 2 classes back to back, maybe to make the difference in winning some of these close games and getting you some of the wins that have?
You know, that's obviously the hope and the expectation. You know, and I've said it all along. You know that it takes time to build it. You know, when you're building your foundation and you're developing that foundation and you're doing it. You know, I believe the right way for us, and that's bringing in guys that need time in the weight room. They need spring football. They need the summer workouts. They need everything that we do year round. And so, you know, to me, you know, I want to have it happen in 2019. You know, and that's my expectation. You know, and obviously, you know, I want it to happen in 2018. And once again, we're right there on the verge. But you know, you still didn't have the mature depth that you need. I think the depth was better than the year before. You know, but it was young depth. And young depth is better than no depth, but it's also, you know, needs to be developed, you know. And so that to me is just, you know, we just got to keep stacking. We got to do this again next year. I mean, that's what it has to be, and that, because I know that's who we play against, teams that have that kind of depth and have those kind of guys and have done it year after year after year, you know. And both, you know, Dave Blue and Dr. Ray have been here for not even a whole year yet. You know, and so just to continue to have them spending time with them and working with them and getting stronger and faster and bigger and even having another year with our, you know, Isaac's our nutrition guy that does an awesome job. He's only been here for this 1 year and to get another chance to get those guys. And like I say, we just got I spent the whole, ever since I was done this morning, we've been talking with 2020s and 21s on the phone. You know, getting those guys to call us and spend time with them and invite them for, you know, to come in January and February, and we're going to go by and see them. And I use the January recruiting period as like my spring recruiting. I can't go out in the spring, and so we'll have a systematic way to get to these. So once again, we're already working as we have been all fall, is the younger guys too, you know. So recruiting is the key. And then you get them here, you got to develop them, you know. And so, but that's what I really, you know, am passionate about, because I know that we're smarter coaches when we got better players. You know, the blitz works better when the blitzer can finish the play. You know, the routes run better when the guy throwing it and the guy catching it, you know, is a really good football player. You know, and I just think that you can kind of, you know, talk about all you want, but we got to just keep doing what we're doing and keep recruiting, keep putting class upon class. It's going to be important. These next 5 spots are going to be big. Those could be the 5 guys that could be the difference in next season, you know. And so, but to answer your question, the reality is that you know, none of us are as patient as we should be, and I'm not either. And so I want to start seeing the benefits of that in the fall, you know, and that's going to take a lot of hard work to get these young guys ready to play. But we've got guys that have been here and have been here several years now, and it's time for them to continue to grow and develop. We got some young guys that got to have a great off season and step up and fill in some voids on the offensive defensive line, guys that graduated, and I expect them to do that. Some of them might be in the freshman class we just signed today, might be guys we signed last year, might be guys we signed the year before that, you know. So, but that's where the depth has to come to fruition, and we got to do a great job of developing it.
Coach, last year you guys dipped into the grad transfer market a little bit. Kind of a 2-part question. Do you see yourself maybe doing it this year? If so, could you get guys in for the spring semester, and does that take away from the 5 you would have left in the class?
Well, to answer your question, yes, it would take away from the 5. You know, that's how it works with the numbers. And so basically you get so many initials that you can bring in. If a guy comes in, you know, from being at a previous school, you know, whether he came by grad transfer, by, you know, high school graduation or whatever, just regular transfer, then he would count as one of those 25. So that's one part of the evaluation process you go through, and maybe you say you don't get, what you really want in these next couple months, and then you say, or this next, before we go to the February signing, you say, okay, let's go ahead and save one of those spots for a potential grad transfer. So that is obviously on the table for a couple spots where you feel like you would have a chance to. That the negative of that is you just don't know. You don't know who's going to be available. You don't know who you can get, and so sometimes you take a chance in that ways. And then there's very few that come mid-year. That pool is pretty small. But there would definitely be a much larger pool after I would assume after spring ball and guys decide certain things about where they're at, on their current roster and everything. So, but yeah, I would say all that stuff all those options are out there for me, and we're just trying to find the best 5 guys that fit our needs right now and help us be successful, in next season and beyond.
Kind of a follow-up with that. In terms of guys who have already been here, like Devondre Love announced, he's going to remain with the team and play next year. And then you held a spot open for LaShawn Minor. Do you have any kind of updates about guys like that, or do they count, in the current?
Well, I do. Now, the one thing, as you mentioned with Devondre, he and I had some good heart-to-hearts lately, and that's just something that's between he and I, but I'm excited that he's going to be spending his 5th year here with us, and I think that's a thing that, and I want to see him, as I challenged him in our meeting, there's some things that I want to see him do to be able to finish strong here in his final season. So he will be rejoining us, and LaShawn Minor is still a guy that we're working with his health situation, and so just don't know yet where he stands, and so continuing to work with that, but that remains to be seen if he'll be able to return with us. The hope is that he will for sure, but don't know yet. Also, to add to that, Craig Nelson has decided to transfer, and he'll be playing elsewhere, and I wish him nothing but the best. He's come here and done a great job for us and did everything we asked him to do, and so he'll be having an opportunity to go and play. He'll be transferring here this semester. And then T.D. Roof's a young man that has had a series of injuries, and he's just chosen to really, walk away from football. And so was going to have surgery in this off season, and just kind of weary of all that. And he and I had a really, good talk with his family, and wish him nothing but the best, and appreciate what he did here. But he's just he's not going to play anywhere else, but he's just going to no longer be with us. So, but that's at this point right now, that's the only change that I know of, and everybody else will be with us here and working hard to do something special here real soon.
Sorry if you forgive a bit of a longer, bigger picture question, but piggybacking a little bit off of Mike, you've opened the South End Zone. The locker room renovation is happening. Obviously, recruiting and on-field development is always going to be a part of it. But what else would you like to kind of see this program maybe take the next step forward in off the field as you do bring in more of these classes that maybe you feel like with guys that fit what you're trying to do, and then obviously from a rankings perspective seem to be kind of a step up from what Indiana's done in the recent past?
Yeah, I think it all fits together. I think there's all, when you look at, when you have a vision for this place, what I see is being able to, and I met with Fred Glass about these things, and he and I are on the same page with it, is to be able to, as the South End Zone is completed, and now everything kind of, shifts a little bit that way towards the entrance of the stadium, and a lot of the athletes that come here to have, all the resources that we have now for everyone, which is awesome. But to really make this, the North End Zone side, to really be the football entrance, and just that to be the, just to really do a great job of making that feel special, making that feel like this is, the football facility at Indiana University. And that to me is a big deal. And we've talked that through, and we're all on the same page. And I just see that coming, when we're about to get the new locker room finished, and that'll be done by the fall, and the new players lounge, which we've never had a players lounge here like that before, which is really what we really need. And the new training room will be football only there underneath the stands, and just all the stuff that will come along with it. And it's just the way that looks and the way it feels, and the way that you just, when you come into that area, this is it's very clearly defined as the football facility, and I think that's important, and that's kind of the vision for it moving forward, to be able to get those things done here, and when guys come on campus, they see that, they feel that, and I think that's important, and everyone needs to understand that football is a priority. It's obviously a priority to me, and that's what I feel in my heart, that the direction that we're going, and that helps with recruiting, and there's no question players got to make plays, coaches got to coach, but to attract guys here, the south end zone is huge, the new locker room is huge, and even this room right here, what we did to renovation here it's a completely different feel when you walk in here from what it was in the past. And so that is all part of it. And then I just think from there you just grow into doing things that make it feel like that this place is special, and football is really, really important. And that to me is what we're doing, and obviously, we got to get it done on the field, and that to me is the next step for us. That's beyond all other stuff. It's about getting it done on the field and winning these close games and finishing them out, and being able to feel good about all the hard work that we put in, because we work our tails off, and that's not going to stop.
Kind of a two-pronged question, but staffing-wise, have you made any changes? Do you expect any changes? And I guess with that, have you maybe delegated some of those defensive coordinator roles that we talked about after the Purdue game?
Yeah, I was asked that after the Purdue game, and at this point, no changes made. But definitely right now, the whole focus has been recruiting. 100%. And that's absolutely been. We literally left that game, had an official visit that weekend going on during those couple days. Finished that one up in the morning on Sunday, and really have never looked back since, and spent very few nights in Bloomington, in that time period. And so really have been working hard to get this class where it needed to be. And so basically now once we kind of get into, this phase here, I would say to be able to address and some of those issues and things that I, had answered before, and so that would be more of my attention at this time. So, but haven't made any changes or anything, or have anything with the defense at all. But I think how I haven't changed what I felt about that.
Coach, I know you fight off a lot of guys, a lot of teams with your commits. I was asked today on radio about who was the biggest get, and I said Matthew Bedford because of who you guys had to fight off at the end to keep a guy that's really been hard for in a school like Indiana to get a long, athletic SEC-type lineman. Mm-hmm. How big was it to hold on to him when you had those schools coming after him?
I would have to agree with you. He was probably the most challenging get in regards to who as of this morning. To be able to fight to the bitter end, and that's from the world I came from, and I know how that is there, and he's in SEC country and lives there, and he's long and athletic and has a lot of upside to him, and therefore there were two in particular programs that went after him extremely hard, and we were both side by side. You got a lot of crazy recruiting stories and all, but it just kind of reminded me back to when I was, back down there and another school, and you show up at an event and the other staffs are right there, and you're just, you're not doing this, but you're doing this. You really are, because you're fighting for, position and time and all the little things you're trying to do, and yet be professional and first class and all that. So, but it was a battle. There's no doubt. And, Bill Inge did a phenomenal job with the family. And, Coach Hiller did a great job with the family as well, but with the young man of just really, because sometimes what happens is, and I think this is one of our strengths. I just think, because people always ask me, how do you get some of these guys? And I said, you know what? I said, we just be who we are. We be real. And everybody wants to kind of badmouth people and say negative things about this or that, and we just talk about how we're going to help develop your son, as a man, as a student athlete, and as a football player. And that's all we focus on. I don't say anything. I don't even say anything. I don't want to say things negative, and that's not everybody's approach, And so, but when you just develop relationships and they know that you're going to love their son more as a person than as a player, it resonates. And you can just say that, but they know and they learn, this particular family, that isn't just talk. That is real. And so, because they have people that they know that are here now, that have lived it on our team, and that everything that we said to them is true. And we're going to just be very upfront and honest with them, and be genuine and real, and just show them what it's like to be here. Nobody's perfect, no place is, but you find people that they care about the things that you care about. And when that links together, you got a family that wants those things for their son, and we got a world-class education that the young man's going to get in Indiana. And that's one of our strengths, and it definitely resonates, and the way they're going to be treated here, and the kind of culture we've created here. And LEO is not just a little phrase on the wall. It's genuinely heartfelt that we're going to help teach you and surround you with individuals that are going to care more about the guys around them than themselves. And that sounds all great, but sometimes it's just talk, and it's not true. Everybody talks about having a family atmosphere, and I get it's hard to build that. It's tough when you're trying to go through, and we got a situation here. We got some young guys that are playing in front of older guys, and it's tough on the older guys, But as I tell them, best players are going to play. We played 14 true freshmen this year. And if there's more freshmen that are ready to play next year, then they're going to play too. But hopefully we get to the point where all the guys they're developed and they're talented, and they make it hard for those freshmen to come in and play. But you know what? You're going to have that opportunity. And so, but we're going to tell them that that's just the way it's going to be. And sometimes there's growing pains with that for where we want to be. But I think getting a guy like that was probably, it was head to head, toe to toe, going against some top teams and down that part of the country, in a different conference that, we in the past, we probably haven't won many of those battles, And so, but relationships were strong. And at the end of the day, they won out. And we have a product here that family wanted. And so therefore, and sometimes if another family doesn't want that or that's not important, there may be a different result. But it takes a lot of effort. It takes a whole lot of time, a lot of investment, and it's already started with Kids for the Future, and that's one reason why we've recruited the way we have. And so, but we just got to continue, and we got to keep getting, doing a better and better job and finding ways to improve. And this is probably the best we've done in regards to our recruiting and the organization of the signing day and the way it's presented and the way it looks and all the signage that we have and the staff we've added and all the graphics and all the things that we do, with social media. Those are all part of this. And it wasn't that way when I first got here. And so we've changed a lot of that stuff, and that stuff matters. And so I just think that it takes a whole lot of people, and it's investment from our athletic administration to invest in those positions and adding people and adding recruiting personnel and just doing the things that we have to do. So those are things, because I've been from that arena where recruiting was just so much a priority, and it was such the thing that we spent so much time in. And I've tried to hire individuals that have seen it. They know what that looks like, and that makes a difference, I think, in the way that you go after a player and how you relate to them and get them connected with us and maximize social media to be able to. That's where the kids live. On that means. And so I think all those things are part of it, and that helps us attract guys. And when those tough battles come, the night before signing day and the morning of signing day, that you can, withstand the test that's going to come there, and they stay strong and they decide to sign with the Hoosiers.
Coach, from an offensive philosophy, you've shown a preference for quarterbacks that are more dual threat.
Mm-hmm.
With the signing of Tuttle, is that any kind of a change in that philosophy, or do you see him more as an added option, an added threat to your offense?
Well, here's what I would say. What I've consistently said is that I want a quarterback that's a passer first and that can beat you with his legs. And I believe from looking and studying what Jack can do that he's a very accurate passer, very good passer in his ability to make all the throws. But he's a guy that can beat you with his legs. And to me, it's the escapability, pure and simple. And if a guy has the ability to do some more design quarterback runs, then those become a little bit more. But they can never be too heavy, because that creates sometimes extra hits that you don't want that guy to take. So you want to balance that out. And obviously he'll do more of that or less of that based on his skill set. But the escapability part, and once he drops back, when he has the ability to beat you with his legs, once he drops back, that's a game changer. And that's what this guy can do. And that's what all the quarterbacks on our roster right now can do. And that to me will be a constant, And so I just think you have to, sometimes the guy's going to be maybe a little bit more of a runner but the passing part has got to be consistent, and that's what we're trying to get to, and really excited about the addition of him to our team and what he brings. And competition makes everybody better. Period.
You talk about building relationships as being a strength and genuineness being a strength. Should that not only just be enhanced? You've been head coach for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to be, you're getting to know kids as freshmen or sophomores. You have more time. When you first got in here, it was kids that you hadn't had a lot of time to get to know. Mm-hmm. So how much do you feel like your strengths will even be enhanced having now more years in place, more years to build relationships.
I think it's a huge plus, because you sit down with a young man now, that we've recruited, and I was involved in that recruiting as the head coach. I know his family. I've sat in his living room. I know grandma and aunts and uncles and his siblings, and before sometimes I've never even met them. We had seniors on our team this year that you just had just because of the nature of how it works. So you just don't know them. And so they may be from a different state, and so it's just there's no question that I think that's a big part of that. And I'll be honest with you, that's kind of part of my mindset with the possibility of not being the play caller on defense for on game day. Even though I'll always stay very involved with defense. That's never going to change. But the ability to have the time to be able to be with our players and meet with our players and invest more in our players, I think it's important, because once again, it's not, I never understood as a high school coach, and I definitely don't understand it today, when a guy says, or a coach ever says, that we have to, de-recruit a guy once we get him on campus. Now, I've heard that a bunch of times. And all that tells me is that whatever I sold you on during the recruiting process, when you get here, that ain't how it's going to be, okay? Well, to me, that should never be that way. Okay. Now, if I'm honest with them and I'm genuine and I'm real with them, the same guy that recruited him is the same guy that's going to coach him. And that's not always the case. And so there's no question that you got to eliminate all the whatever you did in high school, because that doesn't mean anything now. I get all that. Okay. But as far as how you treat them and how you talk to them, it's going to be different. But I'm telling you, that's not the case. And so, but to me, when you're so wrapped up in scheme all the time, one of my strengths is relationship building. I can't do that as well as I want to, and so I just feel like that you've got to balance that. I'm always going to be involved on defense. That's my heart, my passion, and all that for sure. But I want to also be able to, be the father figure that I want to be to these young men during the day and during the week and during game week, when things are really crazy and the schedule's tight and everything's a lot going on. And so I just want to make sure that I can have a good feel for the whole team. And whether it's specialist or offense or defense, and really be able to dive into their line and just be more connected that way. That's kind of how I see that, but I do think that when you know them better, yeah. So it all kind of, to me, can all be a very positive thing to be able to help me hold guys accountable, and sometimes it's being tough on them too, but I'll tell them that in the recruiting process, because to me, I say coaching and parenting is the same. So there's going to be tough love at times. There's going to be discipline. There's going to be, putting an arm around a guy, crying with them, laughing with them, whatever. But that's part of a family. That's what relationships are all about. So to me, the more I can do that, the more that can be me, and I can really be able to, because I think we got to get mentally tougher and physically tougher. And that's part of, once again, I can push guys harder and be tougher on them, the more connected I am with them. And the more that that they really know and understand and have spent some time with me to help them grow as a man and work through life. And that's just part of, what we deal with as coaches, and you get guys here and they got to go to class and they got to deal with issues and they got to handle all that's going on. And I think that's a part of, all that goes into being a coach. And I want to be the best I can be at all that.
Sorry, a somewhat loaded question, but I know it's early. Are there guys in this class that you kind of have already identified as feeling like you could see them contribute soon? I mean, obviously a guy like Tuttle maybe as a transfer has had some college experience, but are there guys that maybe through the process you said, I really think he's going to have some skills that could translate pretty quickly? Well,
Probably too early to mention names in regards to that. Obviously, if a guy comes in, we only got one young man that was a junior college guy. So Juan's played 2 years of college football. One with us and one at the junior college. So you expect him to come in and be ready to help and play for sure. The guys, like a guy like Jack, if he's able to play in the fall, you expect a guy like that that's not a true freshman, although this will only be a second year out of high school. But the rest of the guys, to me, it's about who comes in here and takes advantage of the opportunity they've been given. And I think there's a bunch of guys, like I said, we had 14 last year that contributed and played as true freshmen. So I don't see that number being a whole lot different with this group. You know, I think it's going to be in that range of, you know, a dozen guys or so that will come, and I don't really know who that's going to be. You know, I know you got certain rankings, and that doesn't mean a whole lot, you know. So, but so that's what somebody else thought that they should come in and play. I guess the guy's probably a 4-star. They would say they would probably think he should come in and play pretty early, right? But once again, as I said, I don't rank those things. But at the same time, you know, I understand why they do. They're good players, you know. So, but so we'll see. You know, sometimes those guys come in here and they get redshirted. You know, sometimes they come in here and, I mean, I wouldn't have sat here and told you that Stevie Scott was going to rush for, you know, over 1,000 yards. And I never would have. Someone asked me that if I was shocked. I said yes. I was shocked. Okay, I'm just going to tell you the truth, you know. But pleasantly surprised, awesome, it's great. But did I predict it? No. And so, so you just never know. And he even got here in July. He wasn't even here. He was here half the amount of time as the rest of the freshmen, you know. So you just never know. And I just think that's why you recruit. That's why you develop. And when you get him here, you coach them hard and love them hard and help them become, you know, ready to play in the fall. And then hopefully they'll, you know, prove that we were good evaluators of talent.
Samson James is one of the highest-ranked recruits Indiana's ever landed. Just speak to what that means, what kind of player he is, and how might he complement Stevie Scott and the other young backs you got.
Yeah, really excited about Samson, you know, and I haven't intentionally not mentioned everybody by name. We'd be here all day, but as you asked a question about him, really, really special young man. I've known him, recruited his older brother, you know, to a previous school, and he was in that home when I was there to take multiple visits, you know, and got to really know him at that point. And then he grew older and you know, ended up getting into high school and got to know him, and his high school team, you know, with Mark Bless, would come to camp here every year, so I got to see him in that setting. And so we've been recruiting him for a long time, you know, and was really, really disappointed when he committed to Ohio State. But you know what? We kind of took the approach that, you know, we're just going to respect it. And we still talked to him about it and said, hey, you know what, we're not going to, you know, you've made your decision, and I know it's still early and all, but we didn't harass him, but we just stayed with him. You know, we just subtly stayed with him and let him know, you know, that we're still here, and send him some, you know, messages. And sometimes he'd respond, sometimes he wouldn't, you know, but it wasn't like he was, you know, he was all in to go to Ohio State, you know. And so, but at the same time, we just stayed the course. And so bottom line was I felt like I knew the kid. You know, I knew his upbringing at home. I knew his situation. I knew about his toughness. I knew about his work ethic in the weight room. I knew the kind of character that he had, and knew he was a really good football player. You know, and to me, to be able to have a guy like him of his caliber, you know, to come here, you know, and he really was hindered by an early season injury that really kind of was never totally, you know, fixed, and he just kind of struggled throughout the whole season to get over and to get healthy and everything. So really probably didn't show what I know he's totally going to show when he gets here. But just you can't have enough running backs. I mean, you know, you got to come in here and you know, you've got to be able to have depth. And we've added depth, and those guys are going to compete. And we try to rotate guys in there. And obviously Stevie took off this year, but you never know, you know. And so obviously a year ago it was somebody else, you know, and with Morgan's situation. And so bottom line was we addressed the need, and I just couldn't be more thrilled to have a guy like, and just the fact that he believes in us, and he chose to come here. And like I say, we didn't harass him and beg him and everything. We just were respectful to him and his decision, and we were very genuine to who we are, and we haven't changed. And he loved who we are, and it was his decision to come back and to say, you know what, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to call home, and this is where I want to play. And I can achieve all my goals at Indiana, and which is the things we told him all along. And once it came to the realization that that's what he believed too, then this is where he called home. And so just think that getting an in-state guy to come to Indiana of his caliber is a big deal. And hats off to Mike Hart. And, you know, Dave Ballou played a big role. You know, he used to be at Avon High School as their strength coach there, and in years past, that's actually where he and I met. And so just a lot of things went into it, not just one. And so, but keeping our best players home is a big priority, and that's going to stay a priority in this very next class. And that's already had those conversations today with several key guys from our state that are 2020s and 21. So, you know, really excited about Samson coming here. He's going to be a mid-year guy, so he'll be here with us in January and be starting to work.